Grandad's Smile, A Tale of Terror. I remember the day I first saw Granddad's smile. I was around 10, and we had just moved into his old house after he passed away. The house was filled with his things, including a large portrait of him in the living room, smiling warmly. His smile had always made me feel safe, even in the photograph. One night, I woke up to the sound of creaking floorboards. I thought it was just the house settling, but then I saw a shadow move across my bedroom door. I got up and crept into the hallway, my heart pounding. As I neared the living room, I heard a faint whisper, "Come here." Terrified but curious, I stepped into the living room. The portrait of Grandad seemed different, his smile wider, almost sinister. The eyes in the portrait followed me as I moved. I rubbed my eyes, thinking it was just my imagination, but when I opened them again, Grandad's smile had returned to normal. I tried to go back to sleep, but the next night the same thing happened. The creaking, the whisper, the changing portrait. Each night, Grandad's smile grew more disturbing, and the whispers became louder, more urgent. I started to avoid the living room, but the whispers followed me, growing more insistent. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I shouted at the portrait, "What do you want?" The room went silent, and the smile on Grandad's face twisted into a menacing grin. "Come closer," the whisper demanded. I inched forward, terrified. As I got closer to the portrait, I felt a cold breeze. Suddenly, the grin disappeared, and Grandad's face looked peaceful again. I turned to leave, but the whisper came again, louder this time, "Don't leave me." I ran back to my room and hid under the covers, but the whispering continued, echoing in my head. The next morning, I told my parents about the portrait, but they dismissed it as a child's imagination. Desperate, I decided to face the portrait one last time. That night, I stood in front of it and asked, "What do you want from me?" The portrait seemed to shimmer, and Grandad's voice, clear and strong, said, "Help me find peace." I didn't know what to do, but I felt compelled to touch the portrait. As soon as I did, a wave of cold washed over me, and I saw images of Grandad's past regrets, unfinished business. I realized he needed closure. The next day, I found an old letter in Grandad's belongings, addressed to someone named Sarah. I read it and discovered it was an apology, never sent. I found out Sarah was an old friend who had passed away years ago. With my parents' help, we took the letter to Sarah's grave. I placed it there, hoping it would bring Grandad peace. That night, the house was quiet. I went to the living room and saw the portrait. Grandad's smile was warm again, and the whispers had stopped. I knew then that Grandad had found his peace. The house felt lighter, and I could finally sleep soundly. Grandad's smile, once haunting, now brought comfort.